Well, we always thought that if New York was going to be taken by Japanese monsters, or the whole country for that matter, that it'd be a giant lizard coming out of the sea named Godzilla. Turns out America is being conquered by 722 species of Poketomonsuta, which means pocket monsters, and you can sort of condense that down to Pokemon. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Otta, and this is your right angle on the latest craze that's sweeping America. And like all crazes, there's a lot about this. It's actually, a little bit crazy. For those of you that don't know, basically there's a new game out for the iPhone and for mobile devices called Pokemon Go. It's based on the cartoon show that came out in the mid-1990s. And in the cartoon show, you had to capture these animals with a little Pokeball, and there were a whole bunch of them, and you had to collect the whole series, and then you could use them to go to war with each other and all the rest. Now, the phone app is absolutely brilliant. What it does is it takes you out of the cartoon world and puts you and the Pokemon creatures into the real world. The idea of Pokemon Go, of course, is that these creatures that you're trying to capture are projected onto the real world that your iPhone or whatever sees. So you literally are looking around for these creatures as you walk around the world looking on your phone, and it is the virtual world presented into the real world. So on your phone, there'll be a notification saying there's a particular Pokemon in a certain place. You run over there, throw the Pokeball at it, and you've captured one, and off you go. It's real-world cartoon gaming. So far, so good. Steve, we got a bit of a problem here. Yeah, and I think it's going to get worse. There are so many people who are downloading this app, so many people playing. It's such an incredible phenomenon. This thing sold out in 3 days what I think Tinder, the next most popular app, did in almost 2 years or something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah. So the problem is that people are taking this very, very seriously, Steve. And let me just give you a quick look at one of the guys who is having a bad Pokemon day.
The Pokemon looked at me, he said, "Why you trying to catch Pokemon? It's so late." And I said, "Cause it's Pokemon Go." And then everybody texts me, they say, "Vic, you crying on Snapchat, is you okay?" I'm not okay. I'm not. I want to catch them all. Not some of them. I want to catch them all. The song is gotta catch them all. The song ain't gotta catch some of them.
Steve, this guy's been drinking. That doesn't connect the question to you in any way whatsoever.
No, not at all.
But one of the reasons that this search for these creatures is so obsessive is it is in fact a collector's item. And people who are collectors know that once you start a collection, you've got to get them all. You've just got to get all of them. And it's really driving this kind of passion for these things. So is the idea of people running around in parks in the middle of the night or crossing streets in the middle of the night drunk at 1 o'clock in the morning, is this a healthy thing, do you think, for America? Or is this something that may bring its own disadvantages with it?
Well, God help me if being drunk at 1 in the morning is a bad thing. And there are a couple of things. Number one, I got to tell you, I think this game is ingenious. It's fun. It's getting people out of their parents' basement and outdoors. I love that. And yeah, the news stories are going to make the news about guys who walk off the cliff or are drunk at 1 in the morning or any of that stuff. But those are the outliers. Those are the weirdos that any craze sensation like this is going to attract. So let's forget about them. I love the idea of this game, but what you say it's getting a lot of people having fun with this. What they might not know, though, is it's not so much a game as it is a data collection tool for a Google spinoff. And again, I don't want to sound like the old fogey here, but I did my research on this, and the company, Niantic, is a spinoff of Alphabet, which is now Google's parent company. And among other things, whenever you launch the app, it collects your email address, your IP address, the web page you were using before logging into Pokemon Go, your username, and your location. And according to the end user license agreement, that thing you click through, I agree, yeah. Niantic may share your information with other parties, including the Pokemon company that co-developed the game, Google, of course, third-party service providers, which means pretty much anybody, to conduct research and analysis, demographic profiling, and other similar purposes. It also says that it may share any information it collects with law enforcement in response to a legal claim to protect its own interest, Niantic's interest, or to stop, and this is a quote, illegal, unethical, that sounds like a gray area, or legally actionable activity. So you're not just letting Google into your web browser with your search history, you are actually taking a live video camera around with you everywhere, taping everything you see inside and outside of your home, and voluntarily uploading that information to a Google-owned company. So have fun. Don't walk off any cliffs, but be aware of the privacy that you're giving up by having fun with this game.
Well, Scotty, people are joking that this game is actually getting millennials out into the sunshine, and the people who've never had a tan in their life are actually starting to get a tan because it is a real-world game. But because it's a real-world game, we're starting to see some real-world problems. For example, this young lady here was hit by a car as she was tracking down a Pokemon. She got her Pokemon, she turned around. She claims that she then turned her phone off, which I'm not entirely sure is true, stepped out into traffic and got hit by a car. Guess whose fault that was, Scott?
I could never guess.
It was the car's fault. Now, if you've got this kind of people, there are people already starting to literally walking off of cliffs just with their face down trying to collect these things. Furthermore, if one of these rare creatures spawns in the middle of the night someplace and everybody gets the notification, you've got a flash mob at 2 o'clock in the morning in a park someplace. I can see some potential crime problems with this sort of thing. Do you think that these things are overblown and just being old fogies, or are this thing kind of a genuine problem for us?
Well, first of all, to address Stephen's concern that theoretically, the big corporation or the government could be watching me thanks to this device, I actually like that, because when they come to get me, I don't want there to be any collateral damage. I just want them to come right to me and not have to do a house-to-house kind of thing where a bunch of other people get killed. They can just take me out with extreme prejudice, and it'll be fine. Secondly, last night, just because of the members at BillWhittle.com and my devotion to them, I did this. But in fact, it was because my lovely bride asked me to do it so that we could go hang out with our boys, who for the second night in a row were walking around a small lake near our house. And so I actually downloaded it while we were at a Tex-Mex restaurant, and we went to the lake, and for a relatively short period of time, enough for me to get to level 3, we walked around the lake a little bit and did this game. I will tell you there was one moment when I think I got a little too close to the edge of the sidewalk, like that would have been a nasty ankle break going off the edge there. And I could see the sort of tension in the face of the genuine park people who go there every night to jog and to ride their bicycles and things like that. I think they were a little annoyed by the rest of us who were walking around with our phones in front of our faces trying to find Pokemon. But other than that, there was something kind of charming, old school Americana front porchy about it. It was kind of
almost like Halloween evening.
Yeah, it was like my sons were actually going up and talking to other young people who were using it, and they're mostly young people, not all, but they would go up and say, hey, did you find this, or what are you doing with that? Which team are you on? And in a way, I just thought, well, they're outside, they're breathing the fresh air, they're being good Americans and getting stung by mosquitoes and stuff, technically bit by mosquitoes. But anyway, they're doing this outdoors. My son, my youngest son has a tan apparently for the first time in his life. So I think that there's a lot to be said for this. Now, on the way home, my sons were in a different car. My wife and I get in the car. I'm driving. She's still playing. And she says, hey, there's something over here in this parking lot next to the such and such store. And I thought she was joking. I was like, oh, yeah, we should pull into the parking lot and catch that instead of just driving on the... She was serious. And so by the time we got to the second parking lot, I was like, okay, honey, I'll pull into the parking lot. So I pull into the parking lot. We caught a couple of things, and then we went out from there. But it is addictive in the sense that if you like to collect things, you're like, oh, I can't just drive by that. I've got to get it.
Hey, Scott, you could do things a lot worse than spending a little extra time having fun with your bride. That's lovely.
I agree. I had some other ideas, but Pokemon Go is good too.
Well, as usual with most of these new technologies, I've got tremendous applause and a few concerns. This idea of having a virtual world inside the real world is fantastic. It's just the beginning. I'm not a Pokemon fan. I have no desire to go hunting for Pokemons. However, if there was an app that somehow gave you the directions to, the 1977 Playmates, one for each month, I'd probably be out there at 1 o'clock in the morning too. So
Kate Upton's virtual
yeah,
bikini
pretty
party.
much. So it's a wonderful invention, and I think it's the beginning really of this incorporation of the virtual world into the real world. That's not only going to be fun, it's going to allow us to do things like do engineering tasks and so on in a room and see all these things in front of us. Fantastic. The problem is that people are sometimes irrational, and sometimes they're drunk, and sometimes they're not paying attention, and there's going to be accidents here. Now, of course, as with everything, like for instance, when I update my Apple software, I read all of the agreement. I read every one of the 45 pages very carefully. It takes me about 10 hours. I'm sure that the Pokemon Go acceptance click has got some kind of protections against the kind of lawsuits that we're going to be seeing. Because if a girl gets hit by a car looking down at her phone and it's not her fault, it's the car's fault, then these Pokemon people are going to be starting to get some suits on their hands when people walk off of bridges and into trains and all the rest of it. But my actual main concern goes along to what Steve was saying, and that's simply this. You know, the idea of George Orwell's 1984, the big reveal, the horror reveal at the end of that movie, or towards the end, is when Winston Smith realizes that there's a television camera inside his TV set and that everything that's going on in his house and his life is being recorded. That's the shock reveal of 1984. And if you'd asked me 10, 15 years ago about whether or not that would ever happen to America, I'd say, of course not. We're never going to let TV cameras into our houses. We're going to bring in 5 or 6 of them, and likewise, all of our movements are going to be tracked. We're not going to be given chips in the arm. We're not going to be, tagged from helicopters in the neck. We're going to do it voluntarily. We're going to give the government and all of these companies the information that they want voluntarily, because it's wrapped up in a real sweet little package, and you got to get them all. Caveat emptor, caveat citizen, be careful out there, have some fun, but that's why we do the show. We want to remind people that there are bigger things at stake than occasionally meet the eye. And if you're one of those people at BillWhittle.com who's a member who's paying for this programming, we're very grateful. Thank you. And if any of you would like to get this message out further, we sure would love to have you over at BillWhittle.com. For Steve Green, Scott Ott, and the rest of the Right Angle team, which is small but growing, I'm Bill Whittle, and we will see you next time.